Don't you? When someone starts yelling at you, here's what happens. La 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 la. Your little man inside your head is running around with his ears covered. Yeah, you do. You shut down. You ignore that person. Say, when they become sane, when they chill out, have some dip, we'll talk. Don't you? Yeah, we're that way. Listen. Sometimes you just got to talk softly. I've learned that some of the most effective communications I've ever had with my children is talking just like this. And looking them into their eyes and saying, you know, I really love you, God loves you. That wasn't a smart choice. How much more powerful is it when you chill and speak to them as if God would speak to you? You see, when you get through that, then you can clean up the mess together. In Ephesians 4, at the beginning of the chapter, it calls us to walk worthily of the calling that we have. We are all called to unity. We are all called to this oneness, as we looked at last week. We're one. Just like in a marriage relationship, when God looks out of heaven, he sees one organic entity. A husband and wife is one. When he looks at the body of Christ, at this local manifestation of the local church, this congregation, he looks at it as one organic, unified, organic individual. And this unity, this oneness, this supernatural love that we have for each other is what will draw people to the gospel. So, this is a series that I went through a number of years ago when my marriage wasn't working so well, called the Marriage Fellowship. But these marriage principles of courtesy apply to every relationship you have. So I want you to listen to them. It takes time to make sense and to build true relationships. It requires not only, like we saw a week or so ago with Jonathan and David, a deep friendship where there was goals, there was unity, there was a covenant. Same thing in your marital life. Same thing with your kids. Same thing if you are a staffer with us or a semester missionary. At some point in time, we sit down and we have a covenant of what the expectations are. Well, there are 10 courtesies that you and I need with each other. Number one, this is true about your spouse, but I have learned something. It's also true about your close friends. Don't repeat embarrassing stories without your friends or spouse's permission. Now, we are sarcastic people.
No.
Really? Yes. Yes, we are. We are fluid, as the new word of the week that I've discovered. We are fluid in our sarcasm. It is second nature to a Philadelphian. You know? But you have to guard yourself about fractured fairy tales. Or as Sergeant Friday would say in Dragnet, just the facts. The names of the innocent will be hidden to protect their innocence. We need that. Listen, I love stories. I've been known to tell them. Apparently sometimes too many times telling the same story, and I'm guilty. But when you get old and gray and losing your hair, and people have driven you mad for over 25 years, you will be tempted to tell the same story twice. I just don't do much about Gilligan anymore. Anyway, listen to me. There are times you can tell the cute story about what your schlub friend did when he was drunk before he was saved. But there's an appropriate time for that. You can bust on your friends. You can. You guys do it really well. But realize that sometimes, whether it's your spouse, your kids, your best buds, without their permission, it can cut deep. It can cut to the quick of their hearts. And it will impede the trust that they have with you. It will break unity. You got to guard your heart in that area. You really do. Again, we are sarcastic people. We're known to bust on each other. But know the time and place. You have to be neat and tidy with your relationships. What's that mean? You need to make an effort. Listen, in a marriage, and there's a parallel here. Paul never talked about marriage without talking about the church. Get that through your head. Paul and God looked at the marital relationship and church relationships identically. Because how comes? Because he would refer to a marriage just as Christ and the church. So don't ignore the fact that your relationships within the body of Christ, God looks at the same holiness. It requires in a marriage to have 100% effort. It's not 50-50 deal. If you aren't both busting it to make it work, it will fail. Your friendships, if you aren't busting it and making the effort, they will fail. What did David and Jonathan have between themselves? This covenant, this friendship covenant. They committed to each other that come hell or high water, I'm there for you. When Jonathan died, David put out an all-out search to find any family members left after that purge to show kindness to. And the one poor little guy that was a cripple sat at David's table for the rest of his life eating and being blessed and being taken care of by David's household. David said, I will honor this to my dying breath. There's an effort. Third thing. When you talk to people, if you want to have a deep effect upon their life, you need to look them in their eyes when you talk to them. This is a rule of communication. You just don't listen with your ears, you listen with your eyes. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's the ratio, talking, listening, when you're trying to deal with conflict, when you're trying to deal with somebody who's been hurt. Making eye contact is an empowerment, where you're making eye contact and saying, listen, I care about you. It's critical in relationships. All relationships, not just the one you're marrying. This is huge, guys, gals. You got to learn to talk to each other. You want people to hear what you have to say. You got to conduct yourself in such a way that they feel like they're treasured. Charles Stanley. I was at a National Christian Broadcasters Conference back in the 80s. And I was at a booth hanging out with some friends. And Charles Stanley came by me. And I marveled at that man from this standpoint. In the day, he was the president of Southern Baptist Convention. He was this powerful preacher. I mean, he was this famous guy on TV and the radio back in the 80s, still is today. He talked to everybody in that room, as if they were a friend. He'd walk up to you and shake your hand and look you in the eye. He made you feel like you were worth something. You wonder why he's running 10,000 people in his church? He's famous? He's not famous because he had money to be famous, even though he had the money to be famous. He's First Baptist of Atlanta, I guess, in those days. Listen to me. He had this God-given principle where he's going to look you in the eye and love you. We need that in our relationship. You want to settle things between somebody? Try the old standard true. I'm going to ignore you, disparage you, put you down, not look at you, yell at you, and see where that gets you. Got to remember to say thank you, number 4. I was at I wandered off the reservation a month ago. Joy and the girls went to Mission Fest in Lancaster, which is a non-denominational festival of missions in the Lancaster County area, which had 56, 57 national, international ministries there. I mean, everybody that we support, all their agencies were there. It was nice. It was nice. But I was the only Southern Baptist. And it was kind of sad in a way because people kept marveling at the fact that a Southern Baptist was actually there trying to partner with anybody else other than Southern Baptist. Okay, that's not any of you. There were 10 Southern Baptists there who were in other international agencies, marveling the fact there was a Southern Baptist there. I went up to this one couple. They were from Missouri. sure they wouldn't mind me telling the story because it really sends home a message. We're talking, and they said, listen, we've been in Missouri 22 years in a big old church. We've been in this international ministry for about 10 years. And I said, does your home church support the cooperative program? They go, yeah, big time. And so I just want to say thank you. I meant that from my bottom of my heart because I couldn't do what I'm doing, what we have been doing and be able to accomplish without partners. I said, thank you. They both busted out in laughing. Hysterical laughter. He catches himself. He goes, I'm so sorry. Forgive us. You're the first person in 22 years who's ever said thank you and not asked for something. He said, typically it's the guy who shows up and visits, he's in the pulpit, he says, the commiseratory, well, thank you for supporting the cooperative program, but here are all the needs. Do we ever say thank you? Do we ever look somebody in the eye and say, man, I sure love you. Thank you for being my friend. I made it a personal policy in my life to send thank you notes. I don't do it as much as I used to, and I need to do it more. If I see a movie or read a book or a TV show blesses me, I try to find out who the actor was that blessed me, who the TV show was, what the book was, and I write a letter and what they bless me with, and I send them the letter. You want to create good art? Thank the artist for creating good art. I'm serious. Example. I've read most of Josh McDowell's books, but one just, it was like someone took a pickaxe in my life and started breaking my heart. As a dad, it just tore me up. It's like, wow. I wrote him a thank you note. I wrote him a short little, 3 paragraphs, blah, 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 thank you. This was really a blessing, Didn't know this, but his wife reads all his mail. At breakfast one morning, she shoved my letter in his face. I said, call him. He's you. He might be younger, but he's you. Call him. He called me. Scared me to death. I'm in a diner. I'm waiting for Josh Bean, who was my intern at the time. And Josh was historically late to everything. And I get this phone call on my cell phone. It's Josh. Well, where are you, man? Andy and I are here waiting for breakfast. Where are you? He goes, no, Chuck, this is Josh. Wait, what? This is Josh McDowell. Excuse me? Hello? I get up from my table, and I chai diner, and I go out, and I'm in the parking lot going, yes, sir. And we have a conversation. Because I said thank you. When was the last time you walked up to somebody or wrote a letter and said thank you? When was the last time, if you're married, that you said thank you to your spouse? When was the last time you were blessed by your kids and you're divorced and you wrote a note to your ex saying, despite us, our kids turned out pretty good. Thank you for at least going the mile with me with that. You don't think that will heal a bridge? Listen, thank you is a powerful word. Use it.